शुरू करते हैं. So सबसे पहले गुरुजी को नमस्ते. एंड गुरुजी से अरदास है कि गुरमुख और गुरमत की बख्शीश करो ताकि आई एम एबल टू डू जस्टिस टू दिस सेवा टुनाइट. Lucky are we that our souls got handpicked and chosen by Mahashiv so that he can work on transforming us and basically taking us on to the next phase of life, which is the onward journey or the higher journey. Come to think of it, the entire Brahmand is under his fold. It's just that we as Sangat, some of us have that realization as Sangat, and most population in this world is still not aware, and it's just that different people are on different paths, but to walk towards the same divine light, which is none other than Guru Sahib. No worries at all. No worries at all.
Please
so we hear this all the time, that there are no coincidences in his world. He decides the when, he decides the how, and he decides the how much. And even in the same family, it is such an independent connection. It is such an independent journey of the soul. So, flashback to my good fortune, we got connected to Guru Sahib is janam mein in late 90s, and back then Guruji was in Delhi, और उस टाइम पे संगत बहुत कम थी. There was no social media. The invitation to his darbar was strictly through word of mouth. और system ये था कि most times, there was always exception to this, but most times Guruji would ask किदे ना लायो, and his path was very simple. और उन्हीं के मार्गदर्शन पे जो आज हम the 3 S's that we keep talking about, which is the Satsang, the Shabads, and the Sangat. And with Sangat also comes the Seva Bhav. उस चीज का पहली बार एहसास हुआ कि ये है क्या. And discipline on things like langar was taught practically to us, not via any do's and don'ts list or any discourse or any theory lessons. So जो first hand देखा वो एक दूसरे को देखकर वो ही cemented होता गया. And we have heard amazing satsangs on how people's relationship issues, financial health issues were reversed after they met Guruji. But Sangatji, I don't know of a life prior to Guruji, because my life started with Guruji. And it will not be fair to say that life has been a bed of roses. But what is beautiful is this, that despite the many challenges that have come my way, he has given me Bharosa Dan, which I am eternally grateful for. That's the unshakable faith, which gives me the confidence to keep cruising along. और जितनी difficulties आती हैं, उतना उसी proportion में मेरा faith बढ़ता जाता है. So in fact, every day I'm cherishing him more, I'm relishing him more, and I'm more grateful by each passing second for the presence of such a divine Guru in our lives. And I have so many beautiful memories with him. How we used to love to go to Guruji every single day. मतलब एक भी दिन miss करना अच्छा नहीं लगता था. And just to watch him, get prasad from him. And while sitting there, it felt like we have this, a protective bubble, like a force field around us, and nothing can touch us. And personally speaking, everybody has their own sort of satsangs in the family. You talk to my mother, she'll, share her satsangs. You talk to my father, he'll share his satsangs. But I want to focus on my personal satsangs. And this soul personally had the great pleasure of touching him, pressing his feet, getting his Jutti Prasad on my birthday, drinking Prasad from his glass, sitting with him, riding with him in a car, smelling his dastat dwar. And I think the list is endless. And, मेरी बहुत ये deep wish है that I wish I could have bottled up those moments But all that I'm left with today are those, priceless memories of him that I love to relive and share again and again. And most of you have probably heard about my interactions with him, so I don't want to repeat all that. Um, but what I will share tonight is, the more recent satsang. So last year was especially difficult in ways more than one, and not just for me, I believe for, a lot of people. So our family found out about my father's disease that manifested itself in stage 4. So there were no symptoms prior to that. So jab, mid-May mein diagnosis hua, it was stage 4 already. And, finding out about that, I was completely distraught because even before my parents were made aware, even before my sister was made aware, this news came to me. So, and at that point in time, I was going through some personal issues as well. And, it was a very tough time emotionally for the entire family. And jab mid-May mein pata chala, that was the peak of the pandemic. Travel couldn't happen. We all felt completely helpless. And jaise lockdown, kept getting extended, the disease kept spreading itself. So, and at a very rapid pace. So the first miracle was that my sister was able to get there when my parents needed us the most. So imagine, coming from Maharashtra to Gurgaon, and, most of you must be aware that the lockdown in India was far more animated than what it was here. And then, my dad getting the right medical attention amidst this mega crisis. All the doctors we know were overworked, surgeries were getting postponed. And I cannot even describe the love and the support that came through from the Sangat family, right? That was priceless. And I would say almost unreal. Or how Guruji unfolded things. I'm going off the tangent. Shiv Puran ki reading shuru hui, is time pe shuru hui, jabki ek decade se ye silsila chal raha hai that Shiv Purans mere ghar mein aati thi, and kitne logon ko maine distribute kiya hai, par main kabhi pad nahi pai. So what I'm highlighting here is that the sequence of events is beyond any human planning. So anyways, to cut the long story short, so 6 chemos and 4 immunos later, the doctor said, and this was on 3rd March. So I left for India on March 1st. I reached the night of the 2nd. So 3rd ko Papa ki appointment thi doctor ke saath. So thoda sa iska background deti hu that his last immuno session was, I think, sometime end of Feb. And towards, the end of Feb, his hemoglobin had dropped or blood transfusion dena pad gaya. So jab wo hospital mein admit the, it was I think the 26th or 25th. So us time meko laga that, I should just go. I should just go and meet. And, jab maine FaceTime kiya apni family ko, I saw my sister, I saw my mother. There was this voice in me that just said that, it's time to go now. और डिलेमा ये था कि मैं 25 को ही निकल जाऊं कि कुछ दिन रुकूं और ये भी गुरुजी से ही everybody around me mostly was panic struck and people were saying, are you crazy, you should just leave right away, get on the next flight. And I just kept looking at Guruji. I said, Guruji, aap date nikaloge. It's my daughter's birthday on 1st March, and I know you will bring him back home prior to that, and I just want to be there for her special day. And sure enough, he got discharged. He came home. So मेरे first को पूरा दिन आन्या के साथ spend करके, that night I left. So before giving the next sort of immunoga session, they decided to do a PET scan, और उसकी reading की appointment was on the 3rd of March. So I went with my dad, and जो PET scan का electronic report आया था वो I'd read it already, and I sent it to my pediatric oncologist friend here. Tina, I said, ye mujhe padh ke bata that what does it say? Anyways, it was in English language. It was pretty clear. It said, the disease is progressive, blah blah blah. It has spread. So padhkar bahut bura laga. But nonetheless, I had to face the doctor. I had to hear from him directly. So when I met him, I don't know, as luck would have it, I told my father, who was also accompanied, by a domestic aid. I said, "Aap dono bahar jao, and I would like to just meet the doctor one-on-one." So he, I was sitting in his room, and he said, "Did you see the PET scan?" And I said, "Yes." And he's like, "Do you understand what it says?" I said, "I do." So he said, basically, whatever medical science could do, we have done. Unfortunately, despite all the treatments, the chemos and the immunotherapies, we have not been able to get the result that we were looking for. And this is very, very typical, of the disease when it's in stage 4, because it's too late. And he said, given his age and stage, it's a miracle that he was able to endure, so many chemotherapy sessions and then immunotherapy. And typically, the lifespan after, you hit stage 4 is like 6 to 9 months. So he was already past that. So I said, doctor, because there is nothing else we can do for him here, it's really my desire to take my parents back with me. और गुरुजी जानते हैं कि हर सत्संग में मेरी यही डिजायर होती थी कि I want my parents to come here. I want my parents to come here. And every time I would express, the reality on the ground was कैसे, एक वो बीमार है, दूसरा lockdown है. So everything that could go wrong went wrong last year. Otherwise, they normally come every year. So he looked at me, and it was as if, he thought that, is this woman crazy? Like, what is she even saying? Doesn't she see the condition of her father? And Sangat ji, believe kariye, itni kharab condition thi कि उनको hospital भी wheelchair पे लेकर आते थे, accompanied by an attendant or an aide. और अगर bedroom से लेकर bathroom तक उनको ले जाना पड़े, तो it was a big sort of a project, and he would get fatigued and breathless. And those of you who haven't ever been exposed to this will not even fathom or understand कि मैं क्या बोल रही हूँ, क्योंकि शायद मैं खुद भी ये imagine या ये कल्पना नहीं कर सकती थी कि कितनी delicate और fragile things होती हैं, and they change by the hour. I am not kidding. Like, the situation changes not by the day, but by the hour, even probably by minutes. So he said, as his treating physician, I cannot certify him as fit to travel. In fact, no airline will take him. And agar aap aise iske bare mein sochte bhi ho, then you will push the airline to do an emergency landing. Your father will not be able to endure this flight. And then, he went on to explain blood clots के बारे में, कि कैसे, normal बंदे को, blood clotting हो जाती है, कैसे breathlessness at that high altitude, you're flying over 35,000 feet. He's like, breathlessness हो जाएगी, इनका तो lung ही नहीं है, just be practical, आप सोचो ये impossible है. And I don't know, Sangatji, what got into me. And I just looked at him. He's a very renowned doctor. I said, thanks for your advice, doctor, but where your science and logic ends, his miracles begin. I said that. मैंने हाथ जोड़े और मैं कमरे से निकल गई. Now that night, I did not sleep, because आई तो मैं 2 हफ्ते spend करने के लिए थी, और आइडिया यही था कि मैं मिलकर चले जाऊंगी. और मेरी रिटर्न थी 14th मार्च की. सो अब मैंने सोचा, I said, गुरुजी, यहाँ पर तो कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता. And the thought that came to my mind, I said, I'm not going to leave my father here to, just perish on his own. If they can't do anything, I have to find a way to bring him back with me. So that night, overnight, मैंने सबकी tickets कराई. My mother, my father, my sister and niece, जो वहाँ पर उनके साथ थे. और I pulled the plug and मैंने 9th की tickets करा दी. So I preponed. I was like, if his condition is literally deteriorating by the day, why am I going to wait till the 14th to take him back? अगर लेकर जाना है, the sooner the better. Now, starts this, uphill battle, the insurmountable battle that a daughter is fighting against all odds. The rest of the world is looking at me like I'm crazy. But this is purely my decisions are based on faith and nothing else. So I, like we say, har line ke baad Guru rakha. That's what I said to myself. I said, Guruji, aap sambhal lena. अगर आप मुझे ये इंस्पिरेशन दे रहे हो, आप मुझे ये प्रेरणा दे रहे हो, so I am going to do that. And I know that some people there were thinking, oh my God, she's being selfish. And I was like, no, you don't understand the mind of a daughter. I'm not being selfish. I'm taking a big risk just to keep my father comfortable, just to keep my entire family together. So now imagine, Karo, how do you pack somebody's entire life in like 6 to 8 bags in 6 days? You don't even know, like, कि कहाँ से शुरू करो. अब इतने सारे questions हैं आपके आगे, कोई जवाब नहीं है, कोई सहारा, कोई आसरा नहीं है, because you've never been through this before. So I did not even know from where to start. सबसे पहले तो जी airline से cross check करो कि उनको कोई fitness certificate या कोई medical recommendation चाहिए before I can even get him to board. So I called United and United said no. So I was like, Shukrana Guruji, आपने एक रास्ता clear कर दिया, otherwise physician ने तो साफ मना कर दिया था, because it becomes sort of a liability issue if the physician authorizes something and then the airline needs to do an emergency landing. It sort of becomes a lawsuit. So they said no, no clearance required. Then, that point sort of was on my mind that the doctor said he will not be able to breathe. So फिर मैंने सोचा, I said, अगर मेरे को oxygen cylinder का इंतजाम करना पड़े, तो फिर airline पे क्या specs चाहिए होंगी? What are the specifications? किस type का cylinder? So, all that research started. So the information said that you should have 18 hours of battery life. तो जो portable oxygen cylinders मिल रहे थे, and imagine that the time crunch, because everything had to be organized in the next couple of days. So जो portable cylinders मिल रहे थे, उसकी battery life was not more than 2 hours per battery. So अब 2 घंटे के हिसाब से लगाओ तो मेरे को 9 batteries इकट्ठी करनी है. तो एक battery तो comes with the cylinder, and the supplier said कि जी हमारे पास तो एक ही और है, और तो हम arrange भी नहीं कर सकते. So you will have 4 hours of battery life. Now I was like, I said, agar ye atak gaye, airlines wale, if they, because the website clearly says that if you're bringing the oxygen cylinder, these are the specifications, and this is the battery life. Otherwise, you cannot bring it. So again, Jai Guruji bola, I took my chance. I said, chalo do ही लेती हूँ. And मन में मेरा अटल विश्वास था कि उनको ऑक्सीजन की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी. But again, Fauji ki beti hu, we hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst. So I just wanted to, make sure that all my ducks are lined up in a row. So oxygen ka wo chance liya. Uske baad just looking at the baggage, when I counted, including the handbags, we had 16 bags, a completely ailing person. और कहीं ना कहीं नर्वसनेस थी कि अगर फ्लाइट पे कुछ हो गया और मैं अपने आप को कभी माफ नहीं कर पाऊंगी, बिकॉज मेरे को यही लगता रहेगा कि शायद if I would not have pushed him to take on or endure such a tough journey, तो ये सब ठीक रहता. So back of the mind ये fear चल रहा था. So initially गुड़गांव वाले घर में I had planned a satsang on the day of Mahashivratri, 11th, क्योंकि 13th को निकलना था. मैंने कहा चलो 11th को सत्संग कर लेंगे सारे इकट्ठे मिलकर. पर जब ये डेट चेंज कराई तो 9th का मैंने वो सत्संग किया 7th को. And it was just a handful of people. कि हमने कहा कि छोटा सा एक सत्संग कर लेते हैं. और वो लोग भी जो आए वो हिल गए ये सुन के कि जी they are wrapping up everything from here, and she's taking her family back to the US. And it was literally, I was tripping every wall. जो घर में गुरुजी का स्वरूप है, क्या चाहिए. And that packing is done with a different mindset. It's not that you're going for 2 months or 3 months or 6 months. You are packing with the intent that in your mind, that they may not come back. So with a very heavy heart, I kept doing it. So I still remember the aunties who'd come to attend the satsang. एक aunty, अरदास करी that Guruji, मैं आपसे कभी कुछ नहीं मांगती. Her name is Anju aunty. मैं आपसे कभी कुछ नहीं मांगती, लेकिन अगर ये लड़की सही कर रही है तो कुछ तो इशारा करो. Either move your gaddi, or drop something, or give me a sign. अब ये वो अपने मन में बोल रही है. और वहां पर एक नीलम आंटी थी, एक बेदी आंटी थी, ये सारे बैठे अरदास में. इट वाज अ वेरी इमोशनल सॉर्ट ऑफ मोमेंट, एंड किसी के आंसू रुक ही नहीं रहे थे. My dad came for a little bit for matha take on a wheelchair, and when he came into the room, everybody just started tearing up. So satsang khatam hota hai, and Neelam aunty randomly says, wo dekho Guruji ka chola kaise muchad gaya. Now Anju aunty had not verbalized herself, she'd not spoken out loud कि उन्होंने Guruji से ये clarification मांगी थी. Neelam aunty did not know that this was going on in her mind, but see how Guruji sort of verified everything and connected the dots by one person thinking of something and the other person speaking out loud that, oh my God, do you see how this is moved, or how the chola is crumpled, or something like that. So that happened. And Tuesday, 9th I think was a Tuesday की flight थी. तो ये भी again गुरुजी ने मन में सोच थी कि Friday को अचानक बैठे बैठे, and imagine amidst all this chaos, कहाँ ख्याल आता है ना कि तुम सबके passports मंगवाओ और visa check करो. I don't know. It was Guruji, working through me. So I just told everybody, I said, give me your passports and let me check the expiration for your passports and look at your visas. So when I looked at my niece's passport, to dekha कि उसका passport तो expire हो चुका है couple months ago. So again, उसने तो रोना धोना शुरू कर दिया that I want to go with Masi, मुझे तो जाना ही है. अब Tuesday की flight है, Friday already निकल चुका है, सरकारी दफ्तर Saturday Sunday को खुले नहीं होते, तो basically आपके पास एक दिन बचा है to action this. और कैसे, I mean, this is unreal. Her dad came from Pune. Both the parents went to the passport office. There's another uncle, Anil Malhotra uncle. He pulled some strings. And bottom line is that Tuesday evening, 4 o'clock, the passport was in their hands within one day. Now, the last hurdle was that in that house, Mama Papa ke ghar mein, there were these two really, really big swarups, 100-inch types, life-size swarup. तो मेरे को था कि इनको तो जरूर लेकर जाना है, and I don't want to leave this behind. But ये नहीं मेरे को पता था, ऐसे with all this paraphernalia, इतने सारे bags के साथ, I said मैं ये 2 स्वरूप और डालूं, तो probably airline will say no. So anyway, the day of our departure, ऐसा था कि it was like a convoy, going to the airport. So आगे was this गाड़ी, which जो खुली थी because स्वरूप्स का size इतना बड़ा था. They were packed up in wooden cartons. और आगे आगे जैसे गुरुजी is leading the way, उसके पीछे पापा की गाड़ी जिसमें हम बैठे थे, और उसके पीछे 2 गाड़ियां सामान वाली. So सबसे पहले वो स्वरूप से एयरपोर्ट पहुंचे, and अंदर भी सबसे पहले स्वरूप गए. So it's like as if Guruji is literally clearing the way. All the bags get checked in, no problem, no questions about weight, nothing. Uske baad आई जी स्वरूप्स की बारी. So the airline said, look, we are ready to carry this swarup, but the only caveat is that this should be able to pass through the X-ray machine, because अगर ये X-ray machine में भी fit ना आया, तो फिर हम नीचे लेकर ही नहीं जा सकते इसको लोड करने के लिए. And unfortunately, it got stuck on the X-ray machines because the size was too big. Now we tried to open the wooden carton, but we were running against time. There was not enough resources to sort of unpack it and then repack it again. And so I could not physically bring those swarups with me. So ऐसा था कि as if Guruji ने सारा airport पे काम कराया, and then those swarups exited the airport. Now this stayed on my mind कि oh वो swarups मेरे को चाहिए. So while we were still flying, I connected to the Wi-Fi. I sent a couple messages. बेसिकली कनेक्शन मिल गया, वो स्वरूप्स लिफ्ट हो गए हैं ऑलरेडी. Now, as we speak, they're being packaged and probably the swarup should be here in the next couple days. So, वो भी गुरुजी ने काम करा दिया. Now, the ride, both me and my sister, we kept taking turns, हर आधे घंटे में देख रहे हैं कि पापा आप ठीक तो. And pain management was a big problem. कि कहीं दर्द हो जाए, कोई breathlessness हो जाए. बट वो भी गुरुजी ने पता नहीं कैसे इतनी कृपा बना के रखी कि वो ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर को हाथ भी नहीं लगाना पड़ा. एंड व्हेन वी टच डाउन, आई स्टिल रिमेंबर, एंड आई वाज टेक्स्टिंग विद अ कपल पीपल फ्रॉम द फ्लाइट, एंड कैसे लोग पूरी रात बैठकर अरदास कर रहे हैं. यहाँ पर मेरे फ्रेंड्स हैं, एक Nita aunty hai, Seema Uja aunty, another friend of mine, Aarti, like these people were literally on the phone कि पूरी रात वो नहीं सो रहे थे, वो अरदास, बस मंत्र जाप मंत्र जाप मंत्र जाप. So जब touch down किया, I literally broke down, और आंसू, खुशी के आंसू. I was like, thank you Guruji, you made the impossible possible. आपने एक बेटी के विश्वास का मान रखा है. And I knew in my heart that it is such a Herculean task. ये किसी इंसान के बस का तो है ही नहीं. So, हम जैसी फ्लाइट से निकलते हैं, we get a strong whiff of roses, और mask के through it is penetrating. So सबसे पहले मेरी नीस ने बोला कि oh my God, I smell roses, I smell roses. उसके बाद मैंने अपना मास्क नीचे किया, गुरुजी की खुशबू, मेरी बहन ने, मेरी मॉम ने, and वो एक, and I never look for signs. I don't look for Om. I don't look for validation because I know he's there. मुझे चाहे खुशबू आए या ना आए, मुझे ओम दिखे या ना दिखे, मुझे पता है कि गुरुजी अंग है. So, but that was so strong that it was hard not to sort of notice. Or I'm the last one actually to notice things or see signs or faces. अगर सारी दुनिया को नजर आ जाते हैं, मुझे नहीं नजर आते. So that happened, and then while doing the immigration, like my mom was asked to do fingerprinting, left hand, right hand, जो उनका regular sort of protocol होता है. मेरे डैड को, मतलब मैंने वो passport भी दिया, but it was as if the officer did not even see him. It was like a breeze. Nothing, no retina scan, nothing, no fingerprints, like in and out. Anyway, हम घर पहुंचे, and that day was a little tough because he was he was not very well oriented. उनको पता नहीं चल रहा था वो कहाँ पहुंचे. और 10th को वो 10th था, तो मैं बहुत घबरा गई थी. ऐसा मैंने again वो fear, मैंने गलत तो नहीं कर दिया, इनको पता नहीं चल रहा, he's acting in a weird way, and I don't know if that's normal. So anyway, that night I just prayed to Guruji. ऐसे गुरुजी कल शिवरात्रि है, और शिवरात्रि पे आपका छोटा सा सत्संग भी करूंगी शुक्राने का. और वैसे भी गुरुजी ने काफी बिजी रखा था उस दिन, because I still remember I had to share a satsang somewhere on some forum. There was this biography launch गुरुजी की, प्लस घर में रात को सत्संग था. So शिवरात्रि का छोटा सत्संग था. गुरुजी ने कैसे लंगर सारा बनवा के भिजवाया, बेर आए, and thanks to Aarti for that. And this auntie, Nita aunty, who's based in New York, जिनके बारे में मैं जिक्र कर रही थी, उनके घर में exactly 1 year पहले शिव की मूर्ति से honey निकला था. And I've shared that video with some of you, and it is so clear. So क्या probability है कि exactly उसी तारीख को पूरे 1 साल पहले ये सचखंड का प्रसाद निकला, and on the day of Mahashivratri it came all the way from New York to my house. वो आंटी नहीं आ सकी, लेकिन वो प्रसाद पहुंच गया, और वो मैंने वो पापा को चखाया, and पापा came for a few seconds down to the darbar, and I just felt so good, because मेरे को इस चीज का मतलब पता है कि कितना मुश्किल है, और हर लम्हा sort of गुरुजी की ग्रेस से निकल रहा है. It is on bonus. So 2 days later, 11th की शिवरात्रि थी, 13th को सुबह सुबह साक्षी करके बहुत प्यारी लड़की है ना, मेलबर्न की संगत है, she's texting me, she's like, दीदी सुनो ये Zoom platform join करो. And I was like, इसको क्या हो गया सुबह सुबह? She's like, एक uncle, and that uncle was Colonel Joshi's nephew. वो सत्संग शेयर कर रहे हैं कि मेरी माँ को सपना आया कि मेरे को अचानक इंडिया से यूएस जाना पड़ रहा है 9 तारीख को. So she asked me, trying to confirm कि आपकी फ्लाइट 9 की थी कि किस दिन की थी? And I said, हाँ 9 की थी. Now again, what is the probability कि मेरे तक ये बात पहुंचनी, right? सत्संग किसी और देश के किसी और फोरम में हो रहा है, सुनती उसको कोई ऑस्ट्रेलिया में है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया से वो मेरे को टेक्स्ट करती है न्यू जर्सी में, and I connect the dots and it's again a confirmation that flight पे हम अकेले नहीं थे, साथ में गुरुजी आए. Then, on the 16th, which was, I think, last Tuesday, again, one of those scares happened and I canceled my usual Shivpuran reading because, my father was unresponsive and he got dehydrated. So we were scared and we called the paramedics. So how it unfolds, कि जब paramedics आए, so they did his vitals and they said, oh, his BP is down to 50. He looks visibly dehydrated. तब तक हमें ये नहीं पता था कि उनके blood में infection और उनको pneumonia हो गया. Again, because there is no immunity. So things that are normal for people like you and I become a really, really big deal for someone who's an oncology patient. So then they said, we think we should take you. And I said, okay, कहाँ जाना है? They said, Robert Wood Johnson. So I just thought, I said, my neighbor is, a doctor at Robert Wood Johnson, and I think she runs the emergency. So मेरे को ये लगा, I said, emergency में लेकर जाएंगे तो उसके पास ही लेकर जाएंगे. Now again, what is the probability of Guruji moving me into a neighborhood and that doctor coming to my house a couple months ago in summer because she saw that Guruji के sticker वाली गाड़ी बाहर लगी हुई थी. Otherwise यहाँ पर घर दूर दूर होते हैं, किसको कौन खटखटा के देखता है कि पड़ोस में कौन रह रहा है कौन नहीं रह रहा, right? So वो Guruji ने पहले ही introduction line up कर दी and she knew of me and she's also Sangat. So again, no coincidence. So a thought came to my mind. So सबसे पहले तो मैंने टीना को text किया that this is the situation, what should I do? And she said, अच्छा मैं आती हूँ, but वो निकलते निकलते late हो रही थी. She was coming from Newark. So a thought came to my mind that let's just call Kusum. So I called Kusum, who is, the doctor who runs the ER at Robert Wood Johnson. And she said, my shift is just finishing in the next 1 hour. So why don't I just come home to see him? So the paramedics, people said that, oh, okay, if Dr. Punjabi is coming to your house to see, then why do you want to bring him to the hospital? 1 घंटे में वो यहाँ पहुंच जाएगी and I think he'll be fine. So, she came straight from work and I cannot explain to you, the meeting, it got me emotional because Kusum was like, uncle, देखो आपको treat करने के लिए, आपको दिखाने के लिए गुरुजी ने आपको इतनी दूर से उठाकर मेरे पास भेज दिया. And she said, yeah, you're dehydrated. अगले दिन आप please आइए and आपको fluids देते हैं and we'll get you back on your feet. So next morning, when I take dad to Robert Wood, ये गुरुजी की कृपा नहीं है तो और क्या है that the doctor was standing outside on the road with her tech and a wheelchair ready to receive Papa. Otherwise, कहाँ होता है? ये गुरुजी का लाड नहीं है, ये गुरुजी की protection नहीं है, तो ये और क्या है संगत जी? And I walk into the ER and I see people literally sitting on the hallway in stretchers and there is a private room which she organized for dad. All the testing and everything is done. And she's puzzled herself. She's like, I could have almost confirmed. Yes, they uncovered pneumonia. So, his white blood count was, through the roof. But that was due to infection. But she's like, I could have, sworn from a medical standpoint that his sodium levels are low, but his levels were looking good. His blood pressure measured something else. जब triage nurse ने measure किया तो low था. By the time he got to the room and he was admitted, his levels were normal. And her exact words were कि uncle मैं समझ नहीं पा रही हूँ कि ये हो क्या रहा है. And then she corrected herself. She said मैं समझ तो पा रही हूँ, but I am still amazed. Basically, giving credit to Guru Sahib that we all know that he's pulling the strings. Now, another worry in this country is the financial aspect, because when you're doing these tests, hospital admissions, the bill is in a couple $1,000s, not hundreds, but thousands. And again, कैसे गुरुजी ने सारी इंफॉर्मेशन जिसके बारे में मुझे पता ही नहीं था, been in this country for so long, मुझे पता ही नहीं था that what options are available. Everything was taken care of, and I was laughing with my dad. I was like, Papa, आपने सर्विस 40 साल किसी और कंट्री में की है और खाता किसी और स्टेट किसी और कंट्री में आके खुलवा दिया आपने. And even that was taken care of, how on a daily basis we get a nurse to come, and I'm not saying that he's out of the woods. Again, every day his health fluctuates, every single day, and I do have my moments of fear, but I cannot ignore the fact that how far, against all odds, did my guru bring me. Or मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ कि feed your faith over your fear, and I practice that in practicality on a daily basis. And a daughter's conviction says that dad will be fine, और एक दिन वो खुद आकर जल्दी ही अपना शुक्राना सत्संग करेंगे. सारी संगत उनकी वेलबींग के लिए इतनी अरदास कर रही है, एंड हमारे गुरु बड़े दयालु हैं, बिल्कुल भोले हैं, और वो जरूर बख्शेंगे. Or, as Guruji used to say himself, right? Nanak dukhiya sab sansar, sukhi ho jo naam aadhar. So thank you, Guruji, हमें ये नाम का दान देने के लिए. हमें बख्श दो, हमें अच्छी संगत में रखो, हमें अपने चरणों के पास रखो, और कोई भूल चूक हो गई हो, चाहे वो कर्म से हो, चाहे वो थॉट से हो, चाहे वो वचन से हो, प्लीज हमें क्षमा कीजिए, और सारी संगत पे अपनी कृपा की बारिश कीजिए. सदा